starting
Okay.
out, do anything and you will get better,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You don't have to like overthink it too much. But
Being
for the
able to love yourself and, validate who you are without any form of expression of it. And that's why I feel like that's what true confidence is in my head. Because then
It gives us a journey of self-discovery through our art. Yours might be music or film or writing.
Always been my outlook on everything in regards to life. If I see anybody who has anything, my default is if they can have it or if they can do it, so can I.
We get to
Yes.
speak. We get to do a podcast. We get to work out. We get to. It's a privilege that people often complain and take for granted.
In order to be who you want to be, you must sacrifice who you are right now. Welcome back, everyone, to the Insightful Podcast. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. My name is Anthony Amaral, and today is episode 31. Today, I wanted to discuss how you need to make some big sacrifices in order to start becoming a better version of yourself. Before we get into this, if you've been enjoying the podcast, remember to subscribe, hit that like button, and comment any future topics you want me to discuss in the future. Remember that there's plenty of guests on this podcast, and if you haven't watched those episodes already, I am telling you, you are missing out on some great conversations. So go check them out on the channel or check them out on Spotify and give them a listen when you have the chance. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. Why is sacrificing so important in your self-improvement journey? If you were doing great things and completing tasks on a daily basis that would lead to your success, you would already be at your destination. So, what is this topic about? The topic is about sacrifice and why sacrifice is so important. Because in order to become something new, you need to let go of things that you already are. So, what does that entail? That entails sacrifice, right? If you want to start waking up early and start being more productive in the mornings, what sacrifice do you need to make? You need to sacrifice staying up late. Maybe you're someone that enjoys staying up late. This was me for so long. During the pandemic, I was staying up till like 3, 4 in the morning, just ripping COD, playing FIFA, And if I didn't stop that, if I didn't stop playing and I didn't stop staying up so late, you think I'd be able to get up early? Obviously not, right? So you need to start making some sacrifices in order to become a better version of yourself. And that might entail that you staying up later is your sacrifice because you go to bed too early. It's just whatever works for you. But in order to achieve something else, you need to let something you already are or already have go. That has to disappear from your life. So that's why sacrifice is so important on self-improvement. Many people think self-improvement adding, starting the meditation, starting the gym, starting reading more, whatever it might be. But a lot of what self-improvement is cutting the bullshit out of your life. It's removing the things that are distracting you and removing the things that are holding you back. So if I were to go back in time and start self-improvement all over again, I would definitely start by removing things that were holding me back and keeping me the same. I wouldn't start with adding a bunch of stuff into my life. I would get a book, get some paper, whatever, and write down all the things that I do on a daily basis and what I need to cut out, what is wasting my time, right? And it doesn't have to be completely cut out. It's whatever works for you. For myself, I used to love gaming all the time. I was playing video games all the time. But now I never play video games. I play video games like once a month for like 30 minutes. I rip a game of Chell with the boys or whatever. And, that freed up my time to do all the self-improvement stuff I want. And people are so scared to let those aspects of themselves go. to let those hobbies go. But you got to realize that if you wanted to become someone that is great and someone that you could be proud of all the progress you've made over this amount of time, you need to let go of certain things, right? You can't expect to be on self-improvement and to be growing as an individual if you're playing video games 8-10 hours a day, right? And that was myself. Yeah, I was going to the gym, but every other aspect of who I was broken and needed to be worked on, right? So just because I was going to the gym, I still had all these other things wrong with me that I didn't realize until after. And then once I sacrificed those things, I was able to move forward and able to grow as a person. And that's the first step. The first step is to sacrifice and to understand that you need to be something more in order to live the life you want. Who you are right now doesn't have to be who you are forever. You just need to accept that you have a lot of baggage weighing you down that's stopping you from being your best self, right? A lot of the times on self-improvement, we might get discouraged because, oh, I don't feel good enough. I've done too many things wrong. I've made so many mistakes. And you let those things hold you back. But the sacrifice that needs to be made there is letting go of all those thought processes, all those negative aspects of your mind, because that's what's truly holding you back. It's more than just physical sacrifices. It's more than just cutting off friends and, you know, uh, spending your time more wisely. A lot of the times it's your mindset. It's what's going on in your head that you have to let go and you have to sacrifice, because you make all these copes in your mind as a defense mechanism to make you feel good about yourself. You know, like, oh, I'm gonna sleep in because I need the sleep, and all these different types of things. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's a opportunity to rest and recover. But if you let those thoughts cloud your mind too much, you start to become lazy. And this was myself. Was I started to understand the importance of sleep maybe like a year ago. And when I started to understand the importance of sleep, I started making a lot of excuses for myself. I started saying, you know what, like, I'm not going to go to the gym at 5 a.m. this morning because I need the sleep. And what ended up happening is the alarm stopped working. I stopped waking up when the alarm would ring, right? And this is even after the fact that I would be getting enough sleep. I would always make these copes in my mind to defend myself and make me feel better about myself. But at the end of the day, I was just becoming lazy, right? So that's another whole idea within itself, is getting lazy after being on self-improvement for so long. And that's probably an episode I'll do digging further into that, because I've dealt with that firsthand. You start to become proud of yourself and you start to believe you've done great things, and then you start to become lazy and you stop doing the things that got you here in the first place, right? So that's how you got to look at it. And that's why sacrifices are so important, is because sacrificing those bad habits will lead to good ones, right? If it's sleeping in, if it's eating junk food, if it's binging, you know, you gotta stop those things, right? It's even if like something as like scrolling or watching Netflix or whatever the case may be, if it's something like that that's holding you back and you find yourself binging TV shows, binging anime, the problem with that is I've been there, and we could say to ourselves that, oh, it's not that big of a deal, I'll just watch one episode. But what happens when you just watch one episode? It ends up turning into 2 or 3, and you end up wasting time that you had delegated for something else. So the importance of that is maybe sacrificing and stepping away from those, you know, entertainment things that you do that you enjoy for a little while could be beneficial, right? There was a point in time where I caught myself wasting a lot of time scrolling, wasting a lot of time watching Netflix, watching anime. And this was like a year ago, maybe a year and a bit. And what ended up happening was me and my brother decided to delete social media for a period of time to do a dopamine detox. And what that did is I eventually got Instagram back, TikTok back, because I wanted to start posting again. But I was way more controlled with my habit. I was way more controlled. So when I look back, I realized that sacrificing those applications, sacrificing that entertainment that I give myself on a daily basis actually led to more growth, because when I did return back to them, I was able to be more conscious of how I was using them, and I didn't let them control me. So even partial sacrifices for a certain amount of time could be very beneficial for you in your life. So that is something to think about. Maybe some application you could do. Start applying it to your life after listening to this episode. So what we need to sacrifice. I wanted to give you guys a list of what things you need to sacrifice that could help improve your self-improvement journey. So let's get started. So comfort is the first one. Comfort is the killer of man. This is one of my favorite quotes because it is so true. Once you begin to become too comfortable in the situation you're in, it is very hard to want more, to try to achieve more, to become a better version of yourself. And this is what I spoke about a little bit earlier. It's like you start meditating, you start going to the gym, you're proud of your physique, but then at one point you get too comfortable with the progress you've made that you don't want to make any other progress. So you need to understand that you need to sacrifice comfort most of the time in order to grow as a person. It sounds shitty, but it's the truth. You need to not be comfortable too much. You need to be uncomfortable more than you are comfortable. Next thing is addiction. You are addicted to feeling good, and this is how it's connected to comfort. Is because you only seek comfort because it feels good. When you seek discomfort, it does not feel good in that moment. When you're doing cold exposure, when you're waking up stupid early, when you're eating a proper diet that's got a lot of restrictions, the thing about these things is they're not pleasant to do. They don't feel good in the moment. You're eating some chicken and broccoli, but you rather be eating a hamburger. Who wouldn't? But that's why we chase these things, is because they feel good. So once we understand that life is more than just feeling good all the time, that's when we could start to sacrifice those feelings and focus on the things that truly matter. So you need to stop being addicted to feeling good. Next thing is identity. You view yourself a certain way. Until you start viewing yourself as the new person you want to become, you will never be able to change. This is huge, because the reason why we find it so difficult to change is because we view ourselves a certain way, and other people have this perspective of us about who we are. So we don't want to change, because then that will mean that other people might not like us anymore, or they might not want to be around us anymore. And this all comes to another thing you need to sacrifice, is your identity and who you are. Because if you really don't like who you are, and there's certain aspects of you that you wish were different, let's say you're a very quiet person and you wish you could be more social, and you wish you could speak to more people and have that confidence to go up to people, what you need to sacrifice is that part of you. You need to sacrifice being an introvert and going out there and getting more social interactions and building that confidence. That's like myself. For the longest time, I found it so hard to talk to new people, because I always had this identity of, oh, I'm an introvert. That's just the way I am. But the problem with that is, once we give ourselves those kind of identities, it's very hard to grow out of them, even when you want to. So you need to let that old identity of yourself go. If it's bad, if it's someone that you're ashamed of, which we've all been there at a certain point, you need to let that go, because you are more than that. You can become more than that. And once you realize that you have that hope that there is change and there is progress to be made, that's when you can finally start to change. So you need to sacrifice those parts of your identity that you dislike and that you want to grow from. All right. So I got some final tips here, I guess. Until you accept that in order to gain something, you must lose something you currently have, you will never get to where you want to be. And this is where it goes back to what I was saying. You need to sacrifice certain aspects of yourself in order to become something new. In order to gain something, something else has to be gone. That's just the way it is. So You need to realize this. You need to realize that sometimes when things leave from your life, or you have to sacrifice certain things that you really cared about, that just might be the first step to something great that you don't even know exists yet. So remember this when you're going through some tough times and you're uncertain of where life's going. It's sacrifice. It's certain things you got to do, certain things you got to let go of in order to become something new, in order to be someone that you're proud of. So remember this, my friend. What you should do right now is come up with a list of things on what you should cut out of your life today and start doing it. This is an actionable step that you could do right now after listening to this podcast, is just writing down a list of everything you do on a day and start cutting things out of your life. Because once those things are freed up, then you could start focusing on the things that truly matter and that can truly allow you to get to the person you want to be. This is how you will lead to growth. Self-improvement is not always about adding things to your life. Sometimes it's about removing things that are keeping you at the bottom of the mountain. Maybe you're carrying too much luggage on the bottom of the mountain, and as you scale this mountain, you have to let things go because it's taking too much of your energy away. And then once you realize that you got rid of all the unnecessary things from your backpack, that's when you were able to reach the peak of the mountain. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast and making it this far. Remember to give us a follow on Spotify. And if you enjoyed this episode, I can't wait to see you on the next one. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. Thank you, everybody, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode.